Well, this is Rubix, and I am going to be continuing my story, reading out my story, Gamer's Guide to Ever After. Um, so, as usual, the previous recordings will be in the description, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So, at the end of chapter 5, the reader is then prompted with a dreamscape, and enter the dream. The question asks. And if they were to press yes, which I would hope they would, they would be taken to another document. And this is Glitch's hidden chapter, Somnolent Felicity. And in Blank's eyes, we see like an inverted eye banner frame of Glitch. One big happy family. Was that too much to ask for? With all the realities me and my sister wound up in, I thought our souls would spend several lifetimes wandering the many planes in search of a kindred spirit who would look our way. In every other universe, I'd been deprived of love, that I'd forgotten what it was like to live or laugh or love at all. And then we found you, the songbird who shaped our lives. Kane's theme begins to play. You were the prophesized hero of so many other legends that had yet to be told. But to us, you were our mom. And as far as heroisms go, you were all we needed in this story. Every night, I dream of what life was like before you exited the page. In each dream, your angelic smile would eclipse my mind like the morning sun. A single hug, behind a smile, behind your gaze, behind "you're more than enough," could elate my heart beyond my greatest ecstasies. Together, we'd dive into the ocean and let the currents guide our souls wherever it pleased. You'd bring us to the balcony, where Mr. Locust would paint the night sky with his evening banquet of the stars. As we curl our toes into the sand, the sun kisses our aluminum skin, and the ocean will wave goodbye. If only you knew that you're the reason why my sister hates saying goodbye so much. Remember when you taught us how to climb a tree without wings? You tell us every vantage point offers a new perspective of the world. Blink once, and you'll miss the wonders of the present. When we closed our eyes for a second too long, you were gone the next morning. We ran through a sea of flowers, or you shot for us to watch our step, or you step on a family of garden snakes. Did those words mean nothing to you when you stepped inside that church and basked the world in red and blue? The first time we learned how to ride a bike, I lost my balance and bruised my knee. It bled the color of your eyes, yet you kissed the pain away and sung me a lullaby. You made it hard for us not to fall in love with the world for a while. We were fun for a while, until you tucked us in bed, kissed our foreheads, and told us the universe needed you more than you needed us. So, of course, you had to leave. I try not to look at it that way sometimes. Sometimes, I wish we could go back to a time where he looked at us with the same tenderness as you did. Was it your intention for Pa to despise our very existence after you left? It's not our fault you left, right? When beauty speaks, yours is the voice we choose. These thoughts will forever idle in my mind, yet somehow. And the reader will then see this graphic. I am starting to forget your voice. Your lessons continue to leave my heart and leave it, or to flee my heart and leave it in perpetual solitude. Come back, come back, come back. However, on a day like today, this was not the dream I had in mind. And 76 years ago... Guys, look! I found a funky looking beetle. Brother, I'm pretty sure that's a cricket. Or Are you sure that isn't a crab? And the man he used to be begins to play. In the corner of my eye, magenta-born petal lands on Loki's hair. Yo, hold still. There's something in your hair. I lean in to pluck it off and dangle it before his nose. Thanks. No prob. Also, where the hell did you get a crab? You know, it kind of does look like a crab if you squint hard enough. Don't know. Seems like a scarlet lily beetle to me. Pops! Pops! We rang in sync and rushed in to hug him. And the reader would then see this graphic for the very first time. Your father, the god of destruction and the wrath incarnate. Brother of greed. Well, adoptive brother. We haven't thought of his stupid face in forever that the story must have forgotten him, too. And the reader would then see, in the sparkle text, I've lost all control. A little birdie told me you four were on a birthday picnic. I thought I'd stop by as soon as I finished work. All the feelings of ecstasy we held towards Mom perfectly mirrored how I viewed you, too. How was the trip? Did you miss us? Did you? Yeah. Did you bring anything cool? His embrace felt tender as he murmured, Yeah. Not a second has passed where I haven't thought of you both. But as for your gifts... And the reader would then see this loading graphic. But it never seems to load. You've obtained a blank. Whatever he gave you on that day probably wasn't that important. You would have disposed of it anyway, after he turned out the way he did. In a hasty manner, we tucked our gifts away in those ribbon-borne gift boxes he'd given us. We swamped him into a hug as we sniffed the sweetness of Japanese cherry blossom from that Bath and Body Works store he frequents from time to time in the mortar realm. We were all in a lively plain composed of daisies, then, sitting atop the classic red and white patterned blanket as we waited for Makwahine to return to us. Beaming into our eyes, he asks, Well, don't leave me hanging. How are my little moondrops? Even better, now that you're here. We've been well, and inevitably, his eyes glaze over the boy behind me as he descends to one knee and greets. It's been too long, Loki. Straightening his posture, Loki begins. Hello, Mr. Raft. It's so good to... His eyes drift off to mine for a moment. I bow my head encouragingly before he continues. See you? It's always a pleasure to see you too. Pa glances at me and bobs his head at Loki. Look out, you and Loki are practically the same height now. I roll my eyes. Please, this guy's never gonna surpass me. I declare and fix myself a thumb of perseverance. He sticks his tongue out at me. We'll see in 70 years. I felt something bump my shoulder as I glanced at my sister. They mutter, Say, is it just me or does he look different? Their eyes were honed in on our pops. Upon hearing this, Boer raises a quizzical eyebrow and brags, so you finally noticed. Then, with a dramatic flair, he pauses stoically. Well then, go on. What about me looks different? Esther's face becomes grotesque with ponderance. They der. The longer they held that expression, a migraine seemed to form as they rubbed their temples. After their headache ran its course, they eventually ask, New ear piercing? Pops shakes his head no. Hold up. Let me take a closer look. I plop the beetle over our blanket as it becomes cross-legged, and taking a stand, I hover close to Brewer's scalp as he holds still. I rub my chin, hoping that with enough motion, my chin could generate enough friction to send signals into the brain. Finally, I snap my fingers. I got it! Pop's got his orb thingy shined. This bad boy be looking glossier than usual. Brewer clears his throat and utters one of those incorrect sounds you'd hear in the game shows. Wrong. Floating back to my sister, I sit adjacent to them as we lean towards each other and scrunch our faces in rigid unison. It kinda looks like he's got a... Then, like we really were in a game show, me and Az bark in unison. He got a fresh cut. He got his nose paint. What did you say? My dumbfounded gaze meets my sister. It's not every day our answers are this misaligned, and the reader would then see this graphic. And in the sparkle text, my moon jobs are so dumb, but I love them so much. Brewer idles there for a few moments before he arches a distressed hand over his head and falls to the ground as the grass curls around him. And in the sparkle text, they can't even recognize their old man. Have I been in the mortal realm for too long? We killed him, I wail. Oh, for the love of the two of you are so dramatic. Underneath, I could feel something took my hoodie as I glanced to the side. It was a marigold adorned vine. My curious eyes gape behind me, and Loki just smiles. He points up a space around his chin and whisks it in a circular motion. Head magnetizing back to our old man, I spout, oh, he's rocking that facial hair. Brewer lifts his head from the grass, and the reader would then see this graphic. I guess that does check out. And later, the minutes flew past our heads as we lost track of time. Eventually, man, what the heck is Makwahine doing? I whine. She's been over on that tiny island for so long. Brewer's gaze gravitates towards Kane. He extends her arms into a singular cherry blossom tree and plucks a sprig of cherries, and she drops it into her basket. Our pa waits in close like he was about to spill some mad beans and whispers, Psst. Do any of you know the significance of that tree your mother's picking? The three of us wave our heads back and forth. Busting out his dad glasses, he sticks his index upwards. It's actually factually the first tree to grow here in Paradiso. Everything from the flowers of this land to the scarlet beetle glitchad. Hey, where did it go? Anywho, everything here has passed on in some way. But that specific tree over there, that's the first living entity to reincarnate in the realm. Kane rises to the tips of her toes for another sprig of cherries, its residence much higher than her height would allow. Brewer rests his cheek against his fist and winks as magenta pulsates from his left eye. Then the cherries his wife was after began to shudder and fall right into her hand. Upon seeing this, her jubilant eyes wind towards the group as her face becomes jealous to their Martian-born guest. Scooping her basket, her giddy feet grace the water as each impatient step invokes a ripple. Kane dusts her dress, sets her basket aside, and gets a running start as she tackles Brewer into a hug. Flushed with rose, the bulb on Brewer's head illuminates with pink. His arms lock around her torso as they spin in each other's embrace like a newlywed couple. The blanket begins to wrinkle as Loki inches himself closer and bumps my shoulder. I shake my head, shut my eyes, and point at my tongue, causing him to chuckle lightly. Smooch on, reaching its end. Plants Makwahine back on her feet. They held each other's vibrant gaze as Kane socks him in the shoulder. Who finally decided to stop by. I pray my mechanical bird made it to you in one piece. Yeah, I got it right here. His left hand begins to sift around his pockets. Then he dives through his other pocket, and then his pants, and then his socks, and then his sleeves, until finally he resorts to taking off his left boot. And in the sparkle text, that kid freaking punked me. You lost it, didn't you? No. Makohine bonks him upside the head and nuts the side of his face against her lips. Ko aloha, my love. We've been married for over 1,000 years. You can't deceive me then, and you can't deceive me now. Mom, I groaned. Are you done picking that cherry blossom tree? I'm bored. Kane fixes a hand on either hip and clicks her tongue. She remarks, a rabbit who lacks patience will get their ass handed to them by a turtle. Or however the saying goes. She plants her hands over her knees and leans in. I've procured our ingredients. Are you ready to witness greatness? Gasping with delight, Esther claps the tip of their fingers and shakes their head until their posture becomes precarious. I mimic their body language out of habit, and with mysticism adorning her tone, Makohine muses. Now then, you might be wondering why I brought us on a picnic on this fine autumn afternoon. The cherry blossom tree over yonder just so happens to be. Dad already explained it to us. Twiddling his thumbs, Brewer averts his gaze elsewhere as Kane's angelic grin fails to conceal her disappointment. So, you came crawling all the way back to Paradiso just to steal my thunder too? Her gaze drifts back to the party as she queries, did the old sap bother to explain the significance of these cherries? The three of us shook our heads, and in the sparkle text, aha! Now I can look cool in front of the kids. Perfect. Please, will everyone gather around and take a good look at these beautiful cherries I've picked? And the reader would then see this graphic. Well, those are cherries, alright. There's something about them that seemed weirdly... they're supposed to look wooden. Yep. Now, watch very closely or you'll miss it. And then, the reader would then see this graphic. As hibiscus, we have the potential to alter creation from its appearance to its very core. The age of that tree, to the youth bestowed upon these wooden cherries, are all vital components for an altered specimen to retain their form. Snapping once, she commands the hibiscus to reform into a blue and red silhouette of a helpless beetle, into a squirrel, to a sizable dove, until a row of elegant stags stamp their feet against her palms and prance into flight. They make the rounds around Aster's hair and parade past my ears as they weave back to Connie's grasp. My eyes glimmer with wonder. That's so flippin' cool! Makohine, are we capable of doing that too? She nods, expectant of these questions. Most certainly. It's been eons since I've had the honor of meeting a hibiscus prodigy. Given that you are my children, I think it's high time I teach you this magic. Her fair fingers flutter over the hibiscus, causing it to lose its form and revert into a batch of cherries. She snaps one from the stem and plops a single cherry atop of my sister's hand. Let us start small and easy. Close your eyes and listen to my voice. Imagine yourself rooted in the center of the universe. You are there, protecting this cherry. Breathe and allow your mind to breathe too. Let all your happiest memories and your deepest yearnings become one. Watch as they recount the last time you've had a good laugh, and the last you've had a good cry. And let these memories course inside you like an idle river. Now, channel those memories into the cherry so that it may flourish too. And the reader will then see this graphic. Leaning intrusively close to their hands, I muse. Whoa, it actually worked. And, as soon as your jinx full mouth speaks, the hibiscus deforms into a cherry. Dot 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 dot. Look what you did, you asshat! How was I supposed to know? And we held our tongue, conscious of the surrounding crew, until my eyes landed upon Makwahine, and the reader would then see this other graphic. Ah, I knew you could do it, Kaikamahine. And Esther meets my jealous gaze with a devious smirk. Ears flaring, I unravel my impatient hands before Kane and urge, let me try. I step out of me, she promptly drops a cherry into my hand. Shall I guide you through, or am I getting some competitive vibes between you and your sister? No, I got this in the bag, I overconfidently declare. And I begin pressing on the cherry like I was rolling a ball of dough and puff 3 breaths of good luck upon it. I nest it upon my hands and close my eyes to concentrate, and the reader will then see this graphic. Makwahine leans in to observe my very unaltered cherry, and perhaps you weren't thinking hard enough, my pa remarks without hesitating. Oh, hush you. Here, let me guide you with my voice this time. Obedient, I close my eyes and listen attentively. You're a scallop at the bottom of this ocean, and the only thing that matters to you is this cherry. In fact, you could think of it as an apple, a carton of milk, or even a tiny walnut, whichever suits your preference. A walnut sounds funny. I'll imagine that. Now, imagine the last time your sister ate the last slice of pizza. My expression becomes hard as stone. Good. Now, finally, I want you to recall the last time you cut one loose. And that tough exterior loosens as I give into the irresistible urge to smile until I eventually burst into a fit of laughter. The walnut that surfaced my thoughts also began to feel light, and the reader will then see this graphic. High off delight, Connie squeals, "You did it!" And in the sparkle text, whatever, I did it on my first try. Glitch is so impressive. My voice trembles with panic as I plead, oh shoot, what do I do now? Okay, steady your breath, and inevitably, the hibiscus reforms back to its original state. I almost had it! In an attempt to transmogrify it back into a hibiscus, I imagine all my brain fluids flowing into the cherry, until a headache intervenes with my manifestation. Giving up, my tired eyes reunite with Loki's. Say, has your ma ever taught you how to make flowers? He swung his head back and forth in denial. My mom doesn't teach us that magic. She says it's too dangerous. Huh? What's so dangerous about a couple flowers? Yeah, those rules are for chumps. Connie flicks her husband's forehead. Her downcast eyes painted a serious tone in the atmosphere. Unfortunately, there are some prodigies we don't allow in the kingdom. Such chaos would be inexorable should we let them run unchecked. Womp womp. As for the two of you, so long as you promise to use your powers with the well-being of others in mind, I'll turn a blind eye. Just don't get caught. I swear on Uncle Cronus's left pinky toe. I promise. What the heck did he just say? We were much too young to understand the true extent of what you meant. Flipping her basket upside down, Kane pours the cherries atop the blanket. Her reflexes round up one that tries to roll away from the group. She plants a vertical hand between the cherries and divides them on opposite ends. The four of us held our breaths like we were watching a magician conduct a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. I sense the two of you have been itching to receive your 104th birthday present. In any case, I'm going to conjure a beautiful present for you both. I may need your help in the process. Is that alright? We bob our heads aggressively, hungering for another magnificent display of this unorthodox power. And power we'd stop practicing altogether the moment you died. Very well, she begins with Aster's half and bunches them into her considerate grasp. Float your dominant hand over these cherries and close your eyes. My sister raises her left over Kane's patient hands. Our Makohine's eyelids become sealed, too, as her nose inhales sharply. Thereafter, the cherries soon amalgamate into a red and blue hibiscus. I want you to recall a time in your life, be it this one or in the past, where you felt truly protected. Esther idles there, and their quiet thoughts as their brows begin to knit. Pinch all the lingering embers of your mind like it's a candle wick. Their posture begins to ease as their expression numbs into an everlasting transience. Try your best to paint the scene of that memory, from the setting to anyone standing in the room, accentuated with how you felt in those moments. A red and blue mist trails from my sister's hand and into the flower. I want you to step closer and closer to that memory until you can recall every vivid detail. Now, let all those feelings of safety travel into your left hand. Slowly but surely, the silhouette of the hibiscus wavers into the silhouette of a girl holding an umbrella over a boy that appeared to be crying. Is that supposed to be us? ... Sis, I have yet to remember any of our past lives as siblings, but you've recovered yours far quicker than I have. ... Can you see it, beloved Blue? I can, they whispered. I feel sad not being able to remember this moment we lived together. What is the first object you can see? There's an umbrella. Those faint silhouettes bend and stretch until they form, and the reader will then see this graphic. The dream catcher. Be it rain or shine, I will always be there to protect you. Your sister stopped using it after your mother died. An umbrella? What a marvelous memory that must have been, honey. And it's beautiful, my sister openly cocks, fully mesmerized with what they had created. Thank you, Makohine. Kane leans in to smooch Sis on the forehead. Happy birthday, my dear sweet Aster. My sister rests their new umbrella over their shoulder, perfectly content with their new gift, and inevitably, my gaze aligned with Kane's as we mirrored each other's grin. She conducts those same preparations as I hovered my right eye over the remaining batch. Lights begin to dwindle as I close my eyes tight. I want you to recall a time in your life when you last felt truly protected. My thoughts began to swarm like a parade of fireflies dancing in the dark. I was lost, unsure of where to look, until a red and bulbous insect beckoned for my attention. Center your focus on that single memory, like it's the only thing you can seem to remember. One by one, the yellow fireflies faded into the dark until I was alone with the red firefly. No, for whatever reason, it looked more like that scarlet lily beetle we picked up earlier. It becomes ever wider in my vision as its shell transmogrifies into a projection screen. Two hazy figures occupy the scenery. Try your best to recall the setting. Where are you? Who's standing in the room with you? How did you feel at the time? I think I recall my sister trimming the knots in my hair while I vented about the gloom of my day for hours. They listened attentively and made themselves present. I want you to step closer and closer to that memory until you can recall every vivid detail. Now, let all those fuzzy memories travel into your right hand. I was in our room. Our creations ran amok and chased each other, from the carpets all the way to our shelves. There was a Barber blanket draped along my body. It weighed me down to a point of irresistible relaxation. It protected me from the hair being scattered along its silky texture, as I could feel my own scalp being pulled in one direction. If I listened closely, I could hear the faint sound of snipping. And in the sparkle text, are they recalling that time I cut their ends? Can you see it, Red Velvet? Yes, sir, I mutter. What is the first object you can see? I see... My vision magnetizes to the sound of that gentle snip, each cut relieving me of the knots in my hair. A pair of scissors. Truth be told, this object was more so in the corner of my eyes. I was focused on the tender expression adorning my sister's face as they tended to my hair. They held eye contact with me and smiled as my sight became flashed with white. And as my vision became unsealed, I hovered my gaze over what I'd created, and the reader would then see this graphic. Erd and Verdandi. By my hand or yours, some fates were meant to be snipped. You've long since switched to another after your mother died. 2 pairs, Makwahine Gox and Vivid Amirs. Well, I'm sure there must be something truly extraordinary behind these scissors. She gently scoops me into her arms and kisses my forehead. Happy birthday, Glitch. ... So, how about we take those bad boys for a spin in the arena tomorrow? Time skipping her a bit. Thereafter, the 5 of us became enraptured in the treasure of each other's company, till the sun bids farewell today. In this jubilant plain of daisies, we indulged in the delicacies life has to offer, as Kane manifested a cream-born fantasy, perfected with a red and blue candle. Later, I offered to give Loki one of my scissors, since I felt pretty bad about him not getting anything. And he expressed his gratitude, but turned down my offer, given that he already had that badass-looking scythe of his back home. In all of this, our immersion turned a blind eye to the grievous darkness looming over the realm, as pride's misgivings continued to shatter the sky itself. And 6 years later, goodbye would begin to play. We were 110 when you tucked us in bed and kissed our foreheads goodbye. No matter how many tears we wept, it wasn't enough for you to stay. You remained calm, but refrained from placing our blind faiths into everything will be okay. Instead, you told us, I'm not sure if I'll be able to return. Instead, you looked into our lively room and into the eyes of the children who you brought into this world as they wept an eon's worth of tears. But neither of us were brave enough to rearrange our sobs into the words, please don't go. Because we knew that this was your ultimate duty. Instead, you embraced us warmly as we held onto you tight, but only for a moment. And you whispered into our melancholic ears, you were a wonderful experience. Between our loud cries, we told you, you were everything. You held our cold hands firm and beckoned us to listen to one final request as our mother. Please, don't tell your father about this. ... Maybe, if things were different, If we'd reacted quick enough, we would have been there for you sooner. I'm sorry we couldn't save you in time, Pa. As you put us under a sleep spell to spare us the restless night, you sung one final lullaby on our 120th birthday. A melody that I no longer seem to recall. And it's time to go back. Continue? Yes, no. So, okay, yeah, that would be the end of that chapter, but yeah. This one, when I wrote this, it hit really, really close to home. But yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. I believe in chapter 6, yes. Okay, but anyways, bye!